The Ace match is upon us as we coming at you live from the Super Brand Mall here in Shanghai. We've got a very close to packed house for our match of the week, which is coming up right at the conclusion of this one, where Suning is about to take on TOP in this game 3. We've seen Kennen flanks, we've seen Varus dives, we've seen a 10-0 Yasuo, but we have not seen why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That moment when you're 10-1 as Yasuo and you lose the game. At that point, you just hit tab and you're just like, what happened here?
Highboy was brought out of a series for EDG after he went, what, 6-0 against Jackie Love and then lost the game and lost the series. And then it was Abel who was brought in for the next matchup. Now, we don't have any substitutions coming out from TOP or Suning. So we will see them play this out because at this point, I imagine they're invested in this best of 5.
I'm invested in this best of 5.
Yeah, best of 3.
Oh, excuse me.
3? Please, not 5.
Nah, take it all the way.
Yeah.
I'm ready for 5 games. We would go the distance too.
We absolutely would, but now we're getting into this picks and ban. You already talked about what's going to decide this game 3. That gangplank is super important. Will we just see it banned away?
No, I feel like it's going to be who's going to grab it first. And it should be whoever's on red side, because normally that's where you're going to priority pick your top laner, unless they try to get a counter pick or they think they have something available. Oh, they banned Lissandra.
Lissandra ban. And the Shen afterwards. Already TOP looking to try to deny Suning. And again, TOP, they need to make it through the laning phase. They are playing against Suning, who are one of the best early game teams in the league. And in game 1, we saw Suning take an early advantage. In game 2, we saw Suning take an early advantage. Now in game 3, we'll have to see if the same thing happens, as there's actually a Gragas ban away from XX. Now Gangplank is up, and Swain is locked in.
It would never be a priority pick. There's too many different options available, and I feel like both top laners feel fairly confident that they would be able to play around it, even though I personally feel like Gangplank has been a massive power pick this series. But kind of going back to basics, TOP love to run kill bottom lanes. We talked about this in game number 1. So you have the priority pick of the Swain. It's obviously going to go down into Chocho's hands. It's his most played champion. And now, since he doesn't have access to the Shin, doesn't have access to the Rakan, and doesn't have access to the Alistar, if Pyke isn't picked up in this rotation, I have a feeling that Suning will pinch him in secondary ban phase.
Of course, TOP have to know this considering his performance in that game too, getting some big executions, landing some big bone skewers to try to transition TOP through that mid game, but there's got to be something else to round that out. Right now, you've got the Swain for scaling into the late game. Again, this is 8-14, so there are the Demon Flare nerfs to that AP ratio, but it's an early Kindred rotation from XX.
And normally, this is where they pick up Korn's champion. If they want to grab Cat's champion instead here, we're going to see kind of the depth that Korn's champion pool has, but someone is going to lose out on one of their priority picks. But normally TOP have no problem showing their hand or showcasing one of their solo lanes champions. Oh my god, it's going to be the Gangplank.
Very early hover out of the mid lane. No, swapped over to Gnar by Korn at the last second. You can even see Monyu raising his eyebrow at that one, but TOP looks like they've got a plan.
So understanding exactly, kind of what the situation that they were put in, Gnar has a decent matchup in terms of the lane phase against GP, or has options to play around it. Obviously, Gnar's not going to have the same potential late game that a Gangplank can have in terms of his damage output. So we'll see if TOP try to pinch that, or maybe the Gnar is maybe dissuasion enough not to take GP.
We'll absolutely see as Aurelia is banned away from Korn, so still respecting his champion pool in the mid lane, and that has been a weakness of Korn in the past, not having the largest of champion pools.
I feel like it's either going to be Aurelia, Talon, maybe a Yasuo, or a Pyke. Like, these are kind of the 4 champions that I feel that everyone's going to be looking at for TOP. Because again, like you're saying, Korn doesn't have the largest champion pool, so are we going to try to set up Angel for higher priority, or are we afraid of Chocho, and Cat in that bot lane?
Last ban. With the Alistar locked in, this could be a Pyke. As Rakan was already banned away by TOP on blue side, but instead it's the Morgana ban away, getting rid of the spell shield instead. That could enable Korn on something else.
That still means that both Korn and Cat do have access into comfort pick champions. That's usually been TOP's style regardless of matchup. And this is what we're talking about. Suning, they try to think a little bit more about denial, taking things away from their opposing team rather than just focusing on themselves. Where TOP, they almost just like cover up what the enemy team is doing and just think all about themselves.
Camille now banned away from Xiao Al, still seeing that respect towards him in the top lane. as that Gnar matchup is very important for Moyu. Xiao Al has been playing his heart out this series. Now the Jace is being looked at. This is something as we see Xiao Al adjust his mic, gives the request, puts it in, locks it down.
Now, of course, the assumption is that that's top lane Jace, but naturally they still have 2 flex picks. We don't really know where the Vladimir or the Jace are going to slot in, whether it be Angel, Fury, or Xiao Al's hands. And so again, I like the multiple depth and multiple layers that Suning have done with their composition, but now we'll see if it's enough, because access to any sort of comfort pick that TOP want. And it's going to be Korn's LeBlanc. It's one of his famous champions.
Yeah, signature assassin in the mid lane. Timer runs out, and it is locked in here. 45% win rate. It has seen a lot of play here in the LPL recently during the summer split. Certainly provides a lot of mobility for Korn, but you'll notice there's not exactly a lot of massive late game scaling from TOP.
No, there's not, and if he plays Tom Kench, I'd be shocked. This makes much more sense. One of the first supports to bring Fiddlesticks into our league. It's one of the most banned champions against Cat, so even though he hasn't gotten to play a lot of it on the competitive stage, he's definitely been making a name for himself in the scrims, and other LPL teams respect him for it.
Something that has been banned a massive amount away from Cat, but now we get the chance to see it on stage as Rise is the final pickup for Angel, flexing that Jace to the top lane, and the Vladimir goes down to Fury in that bottom lane. It's going to be pretty difficult to kill the Vladimir Alistar, but more importantly, that does mean that Cat can unlock himself from the bottom lane and roam elsewhere. And
right now, first impressions of both these compositions, I think Suning are going to win this game. I think that a big problem has been either team's inability to execute on mid-game and close out cleanly, and Suning just have more scaling potential. They have the security blanket of having access to a Vladimir, having access to a Rise, and they have a brilliant, what I'm going to call, multiple power points in terms of when their compositions spike. You have the Trundle and the Rise, who are so potent and powerful in that 2v2, especially for ganking it a lot. So the early game could be focused all around there. You then have a Jace for the mid game, the 2-item power spike. You hand the baton to him, you let him do all the heavy lifting in mid game, and then Rise and Vladimir come back around for that mid to late game.
Round 2, yeah. Well, we'll see whether or not Suning can make it that far, as they will have to communicate their effective power spikes over the course of this game to deal against TOP. That is a strength that TOP have historically had. And eventually, we're going to find out who is the better in this best of 3. Oh, geez, I got to duck.
Oh, yeah, the shot's coming across.
We're about to see the TOP flag on the screen. I got to get out of the way.
On the other side, TOP don't have a lot of late game scaling options, but they do have the ability to play side lanes. Their 1-3-1 is very powerful. It's super safe for the likes of Fiddles and Swain and Kindred, and then you have LeBlanc and Gnar as your pivot points to play around. So I feel like TOP, they're looking to snowball really hard in the early game, and then hopefully they can tear apart the mid game by playing and splitting up Suning's composition, and if it all goes haywire, if they are playing from the back foot, then they're going to try to create chaos. They're going to break the map wherever they can. They're going to try to throw mud everywhere, pull them down to the dirt, bite them, kick them in the knee.
Anything, look, a win is a win. You take it any way you can. It's up to Suning to try to do that elegantly against TOP. As we load onto the Rift, it's time to hear from the fans in the arena. One last time for TOP versus Suning. Or maybe not, as already Yoon forced to run away as the bone plating gets procced and that ward gets cleared out.
See, they're all sitting on the edge of their seats. They had forgotten that we're in the final game.
Yes.
Reminder to everyone that our match of the week is coming up after this game. It's going to be Rogue Warriors versus Invictus Gaming. It will be the fight for first between the West and East Conference, as well as 2 of our Rift Rivals representatives.
Yeah. If you're not excited after that game, hey, whoa!
Ah, get it up there!
How did you do that?
It was a trust fall.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But we can take a look at the runes here for this matchup. We kind of talked about the different power spike options or windows that these compositions and these champions have to play around. In terms of where I'd like to see the priority of both junglers, I want FLICKR to, obviously he's going to camp for Angel. Trundle, Rise, and the amount of CC and kill pressure that lane has is quite potent. It's still rather difficult to gank LeBlanc because of the distortion as well as access to Mimic. But I'd like to see them also give Xiao some love. You know, getting that Jace snowballing, give him the good KT treatment. This is a wrench in the plans, though.
Yeah, XX was able to get behind that ward. Angel steps up. That's the distortion. Quick rune prison at level 1 for Angel.
It's a lot of damage having access to the distortion versus the chains there. So you could see the proc, the immediate damage from the distortion,
And electrocute.
then, exactly, and then having the red buff on Kindred. So I liked the idea there.
Cat doing his best Scarecrow impression.
This is really going to hurt XX, though. He's now not only been spotted by a ward, as well as given himself up into the mid lane, but it means that Hacker has access to possibly 3-buff him, unless XX...
He's racing.
He's swooting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the never move after. Oh, Fiddlestick Swain. Ravenous Flock off of a point and click.
It is a lot of cause.
And then you land the never move.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I hate it.
That hurts. But instead, Hacker will head over towards his red buff, leaving the blue buff of XX up, because XX, he went through mid lane to gank, walked towards top side, and then pathed back to bottom to get the marked scuttle. So he does have that mark as another Ravenous Flock lands onto Fury. Which
means he's not punished for his little route through the mid lane. I'm glad that you brought up the power of Swain and Fiddlesticks. It's one of the most obnoxious lanes to play against, and a lot of people credit Swain's power to his ability to just sit in a lane and be unmovable, but for me it has always been the Ravenous Flock. His ability to tug people, to force you to sit in his damage, and against the obnoxious poke of Fiddlesticks, it's almost as bad as Tom Kinch. I almost hate him that much.
Ooh, there's a good amount of damage. As Predator trade back onto Chocho. Just chunks him back out, but again, Corrupting Potion and what appears to be a stopwatch.
Hold on, round 2.
Picking happily away, yeah, XX. Ooh, but Hacker's there and has now been spotted over the wall. XX with the early sweeper sees this coming.
It's going to be about the chains.
And yeah, XX was spotted, didn't make it into that brush in time. So Angel just walking up, senses that something is amiss, and gets vision there. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we do see this Jace versus Gnar, Triumph and Alacrity.
So much respect.
On Moyu, yeah. Plus Resolve primary.
He was buckling himself in for this lane. He's like, this was gonna be a bad time. Don't know if I quite agree with all of his caution, but hey, it works on Gnar. I like the fact that TOP were giving a lot of safety, however, to Moyu up into the top side, so expecting that Xiao would get a bit more attention from his jungler to help sway this lane. They had early control over the scuttle as well as some wards. Now it's gone dark in that river. But what I would like to see is Hacker actually give time of day to Xiao.
That would be quite nice, because right now he's busy trying to check the sun to see what's going on, but Xiao is just happily pushing up into that lane, not really worrying himself with such earthly thoughts as what time is it. Hacker will continue to farm it up. He's up to level 4 right now as he takes on that wolf camp and is now pinging down towards the bottom side to look for that second scuttle, which is set to respawn, but the mark has moved onto the Gromp of Suning. So XX is already starting to speed things up, and Hacker is happy to deny that mark. Should hope so, at least. If he's not happy, then what is happiness really?
It's just a frog.
Happiness is just a frog. Wise words, wise words.
Said Froskirin.
Hacker, has he been spotted? I don't think he's actually been spotted here.
They know he's on bottom side of map.
Oh, yeah, that's a sad investment there. Bringing 3 members as they push in the bottom lane and try to take the Grump away, but already Hacker, he's just pathing around it, going slightly faster. Moyu taking these trades and not liking any of it. Ooh, and the Shock Blast. Ooh, Xiao Al might be looking for a little bit more, but decides not to go for the second to the skies, as that's the Ethereal Chains and the Fear from Cat and the Drain and the Ignite. First blood to Cat.
And this is why Cat gets the respect bans. Hold on.
Ooh, that's the Pillar of Filth onto Moyu. Xiao Al walks it up for a few autos, flashes it around, and juggles the aggro well. Hacker might die here. The Triumph. Ooh, trades it back 1 for 1.
The Shock Blast from Xiao Al didn't connect onto the cannon, which is why Moyu was able to trade 1 for 1. Excuse me, the Gnar.
It's a bit overzealous. Yoon was on the way, but wasn't there yet.
Small communication issues. Back to my Cat point. That's why Cat has Fiddlesticks banned away from him all the time. Love the chaining of the CC, making sure to the fear duration had almost entirely expired before throwing out his silence to make sure that Rise was both feared and then immediately silenced and could not react to the dive.
Truly terrifying. when that Fiddlesticks appears out of the brush as Moyu eats another hit there. 1-1 and 0. Uses teleport to get back into lane as it's Ninja Tabby, so Moyu is just, he is strapped in for this lane. And Xiao Ao's doing everything he can to break it.
His role that he's going to play. I hope that FLICKR has some repeat ganks. It's going to get a little bit more dangerous, however, as Gnar has access to ultimate now.
See if XX decides to head down there as Cat heads back down into that lane. Moyu just getting
hurts.
batted away like a small gerbil.
I mean, the issue is that he shouldn't have stepped up when he was in Mega Gnar right there, because ultimately you just open yourself up for a quick combo from Jace, and then for him to patter you with auto attacks as you walk away, you must fight in those windows around your mini Gnar, unless you're looking for an all-in or have access to a gank.
And we actually see XX roaming down into the bottom lane to help push that wave into the turret and prevent any freeze from by Fury and Yoon. That will unlock Cat once again. Angel, he's got no flash. Korn is there, but he's on the wrong side of the wall. Fear sends him running right into Korn. The ethereal chain's not being used just yet. The snare will proc. They did manage to kill Cat, but the auto attack trades it back over as Angel goes down. Hacker is running XX down, leaps over the wall. No flash for Hacker, but Fury with the Predator. He's got flash.
He can dive.
Flash Evo Plague. Gets XX, but he should be able to heal himself up and survive. 1 for 1.
Fury, respecting the fact that Lamb's Respite would be available and that little Blanc could walk back and try to cancel out the dive, because Fury still had access to his flash. He could have flashed after him, tried to kill him, but assumed that Kindred would be able to stall it out underneath the tower and that he would be put in a bad situation when Korn decided to fall back towards his jungler.
Now, only just now did XX tick over to level 6, so there was no respite yet. That does mean that Suning, with vision of that, are going to turn onto the blue buff and steal it away from Korn, which should help limit this LeBlanc, but already 0 and 2. But Moyu's on the other side of the wall. He's actually getting close to Mega. Might be looking for revenge against Xiao Ao, who does have flash. That's the hyper as Moyu leaps forward, looking for a little bit more. Doesn't have flash. Is Moyu gonna look for the dive? Decides to back out, but Korn is still there.
Korn.
That's the distortion flash W. As he gets the Mimic distortion and still goes in, tries to juke it around with the outplay, but Korn goes in and he gets collapsed upon. Too deep with no backup.
MVP minions right there, making sure that LeBlanc didn't have a clear shot at her target. Excellently played from Xiao Ao. This is why we say give him carries. He is the next going. That was flashy, that was styling, and that was cool to watch.
Flipping all around to find that, though that does mean the bottom lane is undefended, as Suning sent a lot of members top to chase that play. First brick picked up by TOP in that bottom lane, distributed by Chocho and Cat, which could help accelerate this Swain just a bit.
And finally, we actually have a game where TOP didn't light everything on fire in the early game. You know, this is successful getting out of lane phase.
They start the game with a bomb and a box of matches, and their first instinct is to light themselves on fire before throwing it at the enemy team.
It's like the holy hand grenade. Do I count to 3 or 5?
If thou dost count to 5, that is right out. Well, TOP very good at counting to 5, but this time they're on step 2. As Crowstorm over the wall, as you so eloquently cacawed. Kill picked up by Cat.
I'm a Fiddlesticks player at heart. That's what every Fiddlesticks player watching that, it went through their mind. Or surprise. There's a back part of that sentence, but
surprise! Yeah, now they're pushing up to the tier 1 turret.
The important thing is about where Cat is going to be unlocked, because, okay, what importance is it that it's Swain and Fiddlesticks Tower that goes down first? You know, if that's a traditional ADC, you park them into the mid lane, you attempt to start sieging or start pivoting control around Rift Herald, but it's Swain Fiddlesticks. So it's all about Cat, and it's all about the surprise party. How many walls is he going to get over?
Yeah, the classic Cat play style. I want to take this turret so that I can be unlocked, not for my carry to get more gold in other lanes.
He's just like, see ya, mate.
Exactly. And that is the Ocean Dragon now being picked up by TOP, so they're taking control of this early game. 4 kills to 3, about 900 gold ahead as Korn is playing with fire. Though we do see the 1-3-1 already being set up by Suning, as Hacker is taking any camps he can in the jungle, and Suning send the rotation mid to match Korn.
And now the question is, how are TOP going to solve this Rubik's Cube so they can continue to snowball with their tower advantage? Again, it's all about Cat. What did he buy? He didn't, okay, good. He bought 2 control wards. I was like, he better have control wards when I look at his inventory right now. But he got the 2 most important things. He's got his little Mobies, so his Pumas are laced up, he's ready to go, he's zipping around. And he has control wards so he can start setting up windows to land his Crow Storm and continue to snowball this game. And this is the murder squad.
Like you said, there's racing up to the top lane. Cat and Moyu chasing up to Xiao Ao. That's the fear. He's got no flash. Kiting it back even more. Flash slam. Moyu wants revenge. Moyu's gonna get it. Even Cat's taking the aggro to gift that kill over. Good guy Cat, but here comes Fury. Visions of Empire, but Chocho with the never move helps protect his carry. Still, he's holding onto that flash emo.
I don't think he had cooldown, or he wasn't keeping close enough cooldown of Fiddlesticks, having the fear. He was also understood that Cat had flash, but Fury, you could tell, was definitely playing on the knife's edge of, I could flash Q and probably kill this guy, but if he has fear, if I don't have the cooldown correctly, he's either
flash, I'm dead.
Yeah, he's either gonna just fear me and then we're all going to die, or I'm gonna trade flash for flash and then I'm stuck in the middle of 2 people.
The classic LPL coin flip. Do I all in and potentially die, or do I all in and potentially die? As red buff now picked up by Hacker, you can see that some CS has been happily fed into Korn as he is now building towards himself what looks to be the Luden's Echoes.
Cat is driving this game right now. He sets
really
down
is.
a ward,
2-on-2.
and then he highlights the Rift Herald.
Lots of Mia pings as Moyu steps up, and the pillar will miss. He leaps away, even the Realm Warp. Teleport coming in very late. That's actually coming in from Chocho. It is canceled as 3 members of Suning show themselves bottom. Now that means that mid is undefended and top only has 2. So TOP could try to return this push from Suning.
My big issue is where XX is actually located. He started to rotate down towards the attempted Meganar as well as the TP. If Kindred had instead committed to either going mid lane or going top lane with Korn, then you can trade Moyu's death for either the Rift Herald or a tower. So again, an unfortunate map read by TOP, and they may try to force this. Kindred's just now walking up. I feel like he's really delayed to this play.
Korn has returned back into the mid lane, lands the Ethereal Chains, but eats some damage back from Angel. Like you said, Hacker, he's actually turning onto the Rift Herald and is trying to break that down. Control ward in the pit for denial, but the tier 1 has already been taken bottom by Xiao Ao. He's got teleport and is now free to join in with his team, but look at the damage. Unbreakable will from Yoon just through the laning phase.
And the fact that XX spent his time trying to rotate bottom instead of just walking to Rift Herald means the difference between Suning trading Rift Herald for a bottom tower. You know, Suning could have gotten nothing out of that outside of just killing the Gnar. So it's these small windows, or these kind of like 10 to 15 seconds, that are the big difference makers between TOP being a good team and TOP being a great team.
Still, though, they have to close this game out and prove that they are, in fact, a good team, as Suning are the gatekeepers between what defines a good team and what defines a great team in the LPL. Typically, they are the team that, if you're better than them, you're higher up than them in the standings. If you're lower than them, then you lose to them and you're lower in the standings.
I just like how they're the benchmark.
Yes. This is the test for TOP. How much have they actually grown? And it's fitting that they are so even with Suning, as TOP could turn into the benchmark in their own conference as a sort of echo. But that's the Rift Herald being used in the mid lane. I'm not sure if they spotted the recall. No. Angel is still there, and Shelly is getting stalled out on the minions.
I mean, it's definitely going to be the tower, and it doesn't look like they're going to push for more, especially as Cat is making his back. But there we go. All of the outer towers, except for the top tower, which is just a hair's breadth from going down, have been pushed down by TOP. And we find ourselves in another mid-game situation where it's like paint by numbers.
Close to even between the two.
As soon as the paint by numbers is there, it's beautiful painting that TOP can put together.
Once you paint over the numbers.
Then it gets scary. Then it's a bit of a Picasso. Sometimes it's a masterpiece. Sometimes it's just really not your style.
Not your touch, yeah. Not really sure why he's drawing on the roof of this church for how many years? Oh, I see. That's why.
You don't know anything about Picasso.
I'm thinking Michelangelo. Dang it!
Cubism!
I was so there!
Where's your art history?
I was right there until I wasn't.
You've been exposed.
Yes. I apologize. My art history is lacking. The best I know about Picasso is he's in a great Doctor Who episode.
Okay, it's fine. We can move on.
16 minutes in. Let me just twist that knife a little bit more.
Oh, it hurts.
16 minutes in, TOP are close to even, about 1,000 gold ahead. Cat is, he's in it. He's right in there. They found him. That's the stopwatch used very early to try and reset this. Shirelia's and the Lamb's Respite to keep himself topped up. Corner over the wall, but the Fiddlesticks, he goes in! He wanted it! And he got absolutely destroyed as a result. Oh boy.
I love that guy.
Moyu's there with Mega. Hacker looking to chase.
I thought for sure he was just going to take the ward and walk away, but if Cat has the decision to suicide forward, he will always take it.
Oh yeah. It's faster than recalling. It's only, what is it, a 2-3 second channel for the Crow Storm?
Walked away.
Whereas it's an 8-second channel to get back to base. Or a 2-second channel.
And he commits himself to the decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at this point, things do start to get scarier for TOP. They unlocked Cat. He had his Mobies. He's 2-2-2 right now. He started rotating around the map, trying to snowball it for TOP. But now Suning have started to get their key itemization and their key levels on their key champions. So we're looking at Ryze, Jace, and Vladimir. Vladimir's level 10, 1 level away from 11, having 2 points in the ultimate. Ryze now has access to stacking his tier as well as his Roa, which it's more about his hard CC. He does decent damage right now, and Jace hits like a truck right now.
Real big. And it all starts just from stepping up for the wards.
But he could have just taken the...
Did he flash as well? He flashed as well. No, he didn't. Okay.
No, he just flew in.
Maximum range. All right, 2 minutes until the Baron. These mistakes are starting to become a little bit more costly for TOP. They're still looking for the right plays, but their execution is off. Like you said, that Jace, really big. And Vladimir still sitting on the Proto Belt for more wave clear. Moyu's actually pushing up to the turret now with only the Frozen Mallet.
This is actually a great play from TOP. Again, they're splitting the map. They don't want Suning to be grouped up and start just spell flinging with their Vladimir, their Ryze, and their Jace. So splitting the map, constantly pressuring different points, and more importantly, using the control vision and pushing it into Suning's jungle so they can start catching people off guard with Cat's hard CC. This entire game is being defined right now by this Fiddlestick support.
That constant definition is keeping Suning on their toes. They have the opportunity to try and respond as long as they don't get caught out of position, but a lot of that takes vision. And you can see Yoon, he's trekking across the map back and forth to place these wards and try to prevent it, but Cat is just stepping up with XX, clearing out these wards back and forth.
And reminder, in Game 2, we saw how great Suning's defensive vision is, so they have been in positions where they've been able to set the red zone defense, climb into their bunker, and then climb out okay. It's now a question if they can do it consistently over the course of what has been a very grueling series, you know, a 49-minute Game 2. We haven't seen a lot of those in the LPL this season, and that can start to take its toll on a team that is relatively new still and relatively young like Suning, where maybe you start to lose focus, maybe you get a bit of that exhaustion.
Now we do get to see the top tier 1 finally broken down by TOP. All of those outers getting chunked as Suning get caught in between their recalls. Still looking for those core items to scale up even more. XX looks like he is at 2 stacks right now, 20 minutes into the game, so not quite where he wants to be. Still looking for 2 more stacks to get that 75 range, but I think we do have to say that is compliment to Hacker, who has been so on point in his own jungle, denying any invades.
And he's super strong right now. Has 2 completed items. We saw him dueling previously in the river, 3, 1, and 2 right now on the Trundle. He does hurt, and he hits quite hard. I have a feeling that Zeke's Herald will go on Jace.
Very well could be.
I think
Allow
it just
him to the skies in, subjugate, and then the Trundle.
Just imagine that wombo combo, and if Ryze gets a bounce across people and then Jace comes down on top of you this early on in the game.
How about a Hemoplague icing over the top of that cake? Stick that in the oven for 20 minutes, let that bake. Looking good. That's a ward. Yeah, that's it. 20.5 minutes into the game, Baron has spawned, and still 1,000 gold advantage. It's nice and slow, though. XX and Cat are constantly maneuvering around. I'm just waiting for the animation on Cat to change as he looks for the Crow Storm, but instead, ward over the wall will be spotted out by the sweeper of Yoon and denied blue buff picked up by Xiao Ao.
He's got his 2 completed items, Ghost Blade as well as the Black Cleaver, so hopefully things start turning back around for Xiao Ao into a side lane. But again, TOP, they've got one strategy, it's to play the 1-3-1 and then have Cat hunt out to these side lanes while they split up Suning, try to find the stragglers.
That just takes constant maneuvering around, denying ward after ward, denying vision after vision, and then it's up to Suning to keep their own side of the map safe. Now that sweeper did not spot the ward just behind them or the one by the wolf camp, as Moyu constantly pushing into this turret.
Cat's getting desperate. I can tell. Cat and I, we're like spirit animals.
As a Fiddlestick player?
Yeah, he's gonna do some he's going to do something wild. And it's either going to be great or it's not going to be. Here he goes.
Might be the ones who are doing something wild as Cat steps up. He lands the silence onto 2. Rise can't do anything, but Moyu's in the back. Chocho steps up and uses his stopwatch over the wall. And right back around, looking for a little bit more. Dark Wind or a Drain, something, anything, but cannot find it as they stack up at a 5v5 and disengage.
Suning finding that TOP are taking way too long to find the appropriate flanks and get into the correct positions. And that time they just hit the punch faster, caught TOP slightly out of position around their own jungle, and forced them to lose a lot of tempo on this map. Because for the longest time, TOP have been shoving in the mid lane, the top lane, the bot lane, and they've been keeping Suning locked to their own side of the map. Now Suning get a bit of breathing room. They can start moving back into their jungle, clearing out some wards, and then placing their own vision down to, again, allow themselves to peek out and try to find these counter punches to TOP.
Now Suning getting the chance to rebel against the chains that TOP have laid down onto them, showing that they can break these cuffs and try to open up the map with the sheer strength of their composition as they are starting to scale up. Spellbinders has just been finished for Fury, and he is happily stacking that.
I mean, the one big power spike window that we missed is we really didn't get to use Xiao to his maximum potential. But I'm glad that you bring it back up. Again, I feel that Suning's composition just hyperscales really well. And so Suning, they're fine to sit back into their bunker and say, it's okay. Yeah, Xiao's not going to be, you know, as strong as we would have wanted him come late game, but he's still going to hurt. And Rise and Vladimir can really run away with this match.
Again, just denying yet another mark away from poor XX. I believe he's still sitting on these 2 marks right now, 23 minutes into the game. Now, the next dragon is an Infernal. The first 2 were taken by TOP. We've already seen Suning show that they can take a fight, as that's the pillar landing on a cap, but XX comes from the far side. Korn looks for some damage, but misses the Sigil of Malice. Chocho drops into Demonic Ascension form very early with only 2 of these soul shards. Bit of a preemptive play from TOP. I'm not so sure they want to take the fight for this Baron now because Suning are still sitting on just about everything. Yeah. Sorry, the Dragon.
But in return, TOP managed to go over the wall and they get out. Yep.
Yeah, XX gets into the pit with Moyu in time and they take it.
And the issue there is that while Suning kind of took that tempo and that breather to clear out vision, they only placed vision on the Baron. They didn't place any vision into that bottom river, and so they couldn't see that TOP just walked into the back of the Baron pit and then flipped out the other side. So, great play. Unfortunate, Suning kind of missed that one blind spot.
Bit of a shame, but that does give more opportunity for TOP to try to close this game out before that late game scaling from Suning. Nearly at 2,000 gold right now, 1,500 as Moyu steps up. Cat, he's chasing, he's hungry.
They put the control ward in there.
I'm pretty sure he's been spotted. Yeah, there he goes. As that minion was right there. Xiao doesn't take any chances. You can even see Suning rushing to collapse just in case there were more.
And this is the problem with the 1-3-1 from TOP now, is that even though Xiao didn't get to make the most out of Jace's power spike in terms of landing those huge shock blasts, he's totally fine to play in a side lane across from that Gnar and has the awareness to also recognize what Cat is trying to do. So Suning, we talk about kind of their fumbling mid-game right now. It feels rather controlled, that they are doing everything with a lot of purpose, and huge credit to Xiao to slow down the snowball from TOP.
I mean, we're even starting to see the same thing from Angel. Now the baton is going to be passed out of Xiao's hands as Angel is keeping Korn busy, but Cat using the Crow Storm. Yoon is right there. That's the fear. But Yoon walks it up. He's got his eyes on the right target. They're trying to assassinate him within the crowd control, but a quick headbutt sends Korn back. Angel, ooh, even good guy. Gets the Realm Warp to allow Yoon to escape as well.
Angel knows who the real carry was on that gank. Excellent hold from Yoon on the Pulverize as well as the W, but hold on. He's good.
The Shock Blast with no acceleration gate just feels so sad.
If you had to assign it a sound effect, Dom.
That's it. What about you? Oh, okay, just the boop?
Yeah, I can't do sound effects like you.
There you go. But still, 26 minutes into the game, TOP are looking for their own sound effects, and I believe they sound like go, 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 and fight, fight, fight. Whereas Suning are saying no, 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 and stall.
I feel like Suning are the quintessential danger ping right now, and TOP are the question mark ping.
I think there's someone here. Allow me to Crow Storm an empty brush.
Again, I spent a lot of time watching Cat. I feel like you could just tell when he gets desperate, when he gets a bit antsy. He just tries to force plays.
He's going to need to keep his cool against Yoon because already he's been denied that gank into the top lane. Spellbinders is stacking up. Angel's getting bigger. Shout out, that's a BF sword.
Yeah, they recognize that they have to crack Suning's defense somehow, and the issue is that TOP are trying to crack it through the lane phase and through ganks, when what they should be doing is doing it through vision denial, especially when they have a fiddlestick. So Cat is finally starting to do this, but his team isn't really assisting him. This needs to be a team-wide effort where they get multiple control wards, which you can see that they're all sitting in their inventories. There they go. Start placing them out, choking out some of this vision from Suning, and forcing Suning to check into them, because right now, TOP haven't forced Suning's hand. They've gotten to sit within their own lanes, within their own jungle, and be hunky-dory.
Now, that was finally the 4th mark picked up by XX by stepping forward. You're absolutely right. Suning, they are just happy to set up wards time and again, constantly make sure that these lanes are safe from any ganks, and Suning are so fast at reacting. But now level 11 finally picked up by Cat. A little bit more cooldown on that Crow Storm as Suning are just hugging their tier 2 turrets, waiting for this composition to keep scaling up.
At this point, Suning probably would feel very confident fighting as long as they were all grouped up. The issue is that they haven't been given a lot of time to group up, because TOP, while they are placing this vision, they're still forcing a lot of the side waves forward, and so Suning just have to respond to it. But I feel like they have the itemization. You talked about how Ryze now has 2 items, how it's 2 items on Vladimir. You've got 3 items on Jace. I love the fact that 3rd item, he went for the GA.
Yeah.
Like, they could fight, they just haven't gotten the opportunity to.
And the thing that would be so crazy if Suning actually win this game 3 is it would be so antithetical to their style. It's not through early game control, it's not through strong early game laning phase, it's from picking a scaling composition, holding on to their tier 2 turrets and stalling out until they know they can win team fights, not snowballing off of an early laning phase. So perhaps the coach of Suning has been listening to the English broadcast.
They have really clean fundamentals. Suning, I mean, we credit their early game, but it's a very calculated early game. It's not like, you know, it's not an MLXG style where it's so chaotic, you can't predict it. They just find all of this blood and then they run you down with it. It's very coordinated from the draft phase. You can see clear-cut plans. They understand what they should be doing at each time. It's just they're inexperienced to execute on mid-game. But their defensive vision, I mean, it's very clear that it's been drilled into them. If you lose control of the game, you must buy defensive control wards. You must constantly clear out your jungle. You cannot step into neutral vision unless you bring 3 members in or you have control over your side lanes. They're just a very clean, fundamental team.
And that's what we just saw as TOP. They're constantly maintaining vision over the Baron pit, but Suning, they're stepping up with Hacker, with Xiao Ao, with Angel. It's never just one person who steps forward into the Fiddlesticks LeBlanc composition. And this is buying a lot of time for them to keep on stalling it out. We haven't seen any action for nearly 10 minutes now. But these items are getting bigger, and so too are the champions of Suning.
Someone's going to force something. The Infernal does spawn in 17 seconds, so we should move away from the Baron at this point, but it's either going to be either someone attempting to force the Infernal, someone attempting to force the Baron. Eventually, TOP, they need to do something to force them out of this hole, even though it's really scary to do so at this point. I don't know if they know that, though.
TOP?
Yeah.
Maybe they're just relying on Suning playing passive for the rest of the game, and so that Suning can, or sorry, TOP can get 4 Elemental Dragons with double Infernal, and then take the Elder at 36 minutes in.
I mean, the nice thing is that TOP's 5v5 isn't weak.
Yes.
They have Swain, they have Gnar, but again, I feel like it's harder to execute on than what Suning can do, which is again just rock and impress R. You gotta time the Mega Gnar, you gotta make sure that your Swain is positioned correctly, that Azanya's Hourglass is going down at the right time.
Suning taking the Venn diagram of death approach.
It's how weak teams get better. You just play really easy compositions for a long time until you iron out all of the different variables about how you talk to each other, what your macro plays are.
There's also the conversation. Cat really wanted to know what was going on that side of the map.
He has been so thirsty. This guy, get him a big gulp. He's just been throwing down wards in this area like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna find him.
Somebody is gonna check this brush. So this is probably the worst matchup is Realm Warp. Whoa, Angel's looking for it. And they're actually trying to chase it down. Flash over the wall from Angel, but a Shurelius. As it's Angel who gets desperate, the newest player of the 10 on our screen.
I think it was more so that Suning just recognized that TOP stepped a little bit too close. Again, Suning they're really strong right now. Oh, Cat, he's finally got it.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
He's been spotted by Hacker. There he goes. That's the fear. He's still got the flash. No Shirelias this time. Flashes away. And the never move as well. His team is there to save him.
I almost expected him to turn around and go back in.
I know. Walk into the Krug pit and start channeling.
Yep.
Corn is there as well, splitting in that side lane. But like you said, Suning, they're starting to get a little adventurous.
Because they know that they're strong, and I think TOP have finally figured out as well, and unfortunately now they don't have flash on Fiddlesticks. Which, to me, I know a lot of Fiddlesticks players and a lot of casters talk about how, oh, he's going to land the Crow Storm. It's not really going to hurt.
It's not about the Crow Storm.
It's about the silence and the fear.
Yes, especially on support Fiddlesticks, though we do see a Fiendish Codex.
I feel like it's not really going to hurt. He's against a Ryze who has Archangels, he's against a Vladimir, and he's against an Alistar, as well as a Trundle. You know, there's not like super squishy, it's not like an 80 carry in there that's just going to get blown up.
I would say a Jace, but like you said, Black Cleaver and the Guardian Angel.
And Jace can just stand back.
Fiddlesticks, knock the Fiddlesticks out of the fight.
Likewise, he also won't zone him out of his damage range. You know, he can just Shock Blast over it.
Things not looking very good for Cat, as he did take that last pick Fiddlesticks after already seeing everything but the Rise.
I'm curious how hard Corn's going to hit on the LeBlanc, because that could be the X factor here, depending on how much damage and assassination potential he has on multiple members. And I haven't seen him hit anything in a long time to really be able to gauge where LeBlanc is at this point in the game.
Now he's at 2 items and they're trying to play around this vision. XX finally steps up along with Corn, showing himself out of the brush, but here comes the rest of Suning. That's the Predator. And now TOP, they were the ones setting the trap, but they get it sprung on them. XX uses an early respite. But this is a fight on 2 fronts. As teleport comes in, Corn steps forward onto Xiao Al. He's doing some good damage, and they actually did manage to kill Fury, though we did see Cat die on the back side. XX is still doing some work as Angel will assassinate him, but Moyu, he's ready. He's got the Gnar Slam, he's got the flash, leaps forward and finds 2. Pins another against the wall. Angel is in the back line, but he's got no one to support him as his front line has been obliterated by TOP.
And another duct tape fight from TOP, but thankfully Suning try to flank from so many different angles. They don't get a front to back, and they just get torn apart before any 5 members even show up.
And where do TOP keep getting all of this duct tape to pull these fights together? Suning try to take a long flank, but it gets stalled out, and TOP find the kills, pushing up to an inhibitor now. Angel is up. He's right there next to the minion wave, but can't step up against 3, especially with that much CC, and the inhib goes down. TOP open up the map.
And credit where credit is due to TOP. They held Suning out into the side lane. Suning attempted to the flank, and they just got zoned out from this.
Oh,
I'm really curious what happened on the bottom side.
That's wholly unexpected.
Oh, okay. So Angel spends so much time trying to deal with the GA as well as dealing with the Fiddlesticks that he's not there in time to help his team lay down the hard CC and the damage. Also, huge credit to Moyu there.
Yeah. 3-man Gnar ultimate.
Unfortunate execution from Suning right when it really mattered. And you saw the massive damage that Fury was doing on that Vladimir. He's huge, but GAs should now all be popped here, so fights can get a little bit more precarious.
Yeah, using the Spellbinder Hemoplague Blood Rush on a Lamb's Respite probably feels pretty bad.
I also feel like Yoon held his W.
Ooh, and the slow. Chains of will
Exactly. He's like, oh, LeBlanc hurts.
That's the one.
Which
That's
now
usually my train of thought as well. No words when you see the LeBlanc, just sound effects and screaming.
Are you one of those players where LeBlanc double distortions onto you? Just, ah!
Yes, actually. Even when I do see the LeBlanc coming, I know, and I still just it's like a horror movie.
That's your horror movie scream?
I'm not gonna do my full horror movie scream on broadcast.
You already gave yourself away.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But now the tier 2 is being broken down.
So the cool thing here is now they recognize that Corn is strong enough. We talked about how he could be the X factor. Corn doesn't have kill pressure on virtually anyone but that Jace. And now Suning can't try to stall out these side lanes as long as Corn matches with him. For the longest time, LeBlanc's been on the top side of the map, Jace has been on the bottom side. Now Corn's figured out, I can stand on the bottom side and I can kill Jace, and we can force these structures down as opposed to trying to play a 50-50 Baron.
Now that inhibitor is pushing super minions up top. Baron is up, and already you can see the pings being set up by TOP, but the Elder Dragon is up as well, and they have 4 elemental buffs. Suning are on their way towards the pit to deny some of this vision and perhaps try to bait TOP away from that Elder Dragon because there is no solo effect, but TOP, they were setting up a trap on that way to the Elder Dragon. So this could be a trade that TOP might want if they still want to look for a fight.
Doesn't have teleport. They see that he's topside.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, that's the pillar of filth. Cat is the target. He flashes back. Gets the Crow Storm over the wall. Yoon is the target. Gets silence onto Hacker. He managed to go for Fury, who gets silenced and flung back in by Moyu. He's stunned but cleansed. Hemoplague heals him back up. Yoon gets one. Fury's in the back doing more damage, and he will go down. A double kill to XX as they chase it out. TOP again. Stop giving this team duct tape. Lamb's respite. A shout out goes back in. He dies, but he's able to trade 1-for-1. A good flank attempt from Angel to try to outplay Korn, but his team is there. It's just a numbers advantage. Finally, he locks it down, but that's a quadra kill for XX as TOP take the fight, and they're pushing for the Nexus.
The Kindred just means so much in these team fights. Moyu looks like a completely different player on the Gnar, and that's not a duct tape team fight. That's TOP just playing that much better than Suning.
They're going to break it down, and TOP defeat the Gatekeepers, doubling the same number of their spring wins. As with the high five, they close this series out.
And a very well-deserved high five there. The jungler and the top laner really were the difference in those last team fights. You looked at Suning's composition, and I felt these late game team fights, they should be so easy for them. But even without Korn available in a 4v5, Suning were baited into overextending, couldn't get into the back line, and then every individual member of TOP did the right thing. Chocho was coming in with the Swain, doing his job to zone with his Zhonya's Hourglass. The Mega Gnar was always available when it needed to be. The perfectly timed Lamb's Respites to deny a lot of the big damage coming out from Suning's composition. Just beautifully executed in that last team fight.
And it was such a fast back-to-back-to-back 3 series of events that opened up the game for TOP. You could see things getting out of their control as Suning were starting to struggle against the restraints that TOP had set during that early laning phase, but all they had to do was pull Suning apart in that one team fight, make them doubt their strength, and then, of course, that last fight to close everything away.
Very well done, as now we have a new benchmark, Dom.
Do we?
I believe it's TOP.
The feasible 5 find themselves with the win as they make their way backstage, their 6th series win. And to be clear right now, in the West Conference, it's Rogue Warriors at 11-2, then EDG are 1 win ahead of Topsports Gaming. Is that something you ever thought you'd hear?
Not since spring split domestic conference round 1 of Dan Gaming.
Yeah, oh boy, that was a long time ago. But TOP, they're making a rise. You can see how quickly that game snowballed towards the end. Just a collective series of fights back to back to back that caught Suning reeling, and we're able to close that out.
See a lot of damage over on Xiaoao. Obviously, he's a poke-based champion, but I feel like that was really the massive miss, is that they were unable to utilize the power of the Jace, that it was the tower bot lane that got knocked down first, unlocking Cat and putting Suning on the defensive back foot, that they couldn't take advantage of kind of the big times in their composition where they had power spikes.
Yeah, and again, it all came down to the setup from TOP. Obviously, they picked for themselves the early mid-game against an early mid-game team, and then the early mid-game team picked for the late game. It was all kind of swippy-swappy, flippy-floppy. Nobody could really figure it out, but TOP took the early lane advantage throughout that game, taking that Swain very early on, putting XX onto that Kindred very early, allowing him to snowball later on.
And also having the fiddlesticks. We saw how obnoxious that lane was with the Ravenous Flock and being able to throw your crows around everywhere. There's birds everywhere. And they constantly had Fury and Yoon trapped underneath their tower. And this is one of our better bottom lanes that we have in the LPL. So that when Hacker finally decided to start giving Xiaoao some love, some attention towards the top side, it meant that TOP were always able to trade something in response, and it was that top tower to begin snowballing the game because Cat was unlocked on Fiddlesticks.
And it was, in fact, that fight in the top lane that opened up the game for TOP, because they were able to pull Suning out of position. Though Cat does trade his life over, he's able to stall Angel long enough that the rest of TOP are able to clean things out.
And credit to Moyu, he got an excellent TP. You saw that he was coming up the mid lane, then TPs into the fight, gets a massive Mega Gnar, and again, he looked like a completely different player this series. I feel like Gnar should really be his go-to champion because he was the big defining turning point for that fight.
And chasing down that kill, of course. From there, it was an easy run down to the inhibitor, which opened up the top half of the map. And then, like you said, Korn unlocked on the LeBlanc, was able to start chasing down that Jace. Just easy, logical play from TOP, though they took a long time to figure out which way to turn the Rubik's Cube, how to match the colors. Once you, just like with an actual Rubik's Cube, once you learn the pattern, it's fairly easy to replicate and finish things out.
And this was the last team fight, and reminder that TOP do this without Korn even being available. So Crowstor comes in, it really splits up Suning, and Chocho separates both Angel and Xiao Al from the fight. Excellently done with his positioning on the Swain to use the hourglass like that and make sure that the two carries of Suning couldn't fall back on what the tanks were trying to do on the bottom side of the screen.
And finally, by the time Angel is able to get into the fight because he's been dueling with Korn for so long, the rest of his team is dead. Again, we see him try to take these valiant, heroic outplays, but the new player to Suning needing to perhaps synergize a little bit more with his team in order to make these fights look a little bit better, because from there, as we saw, it was just the Nexus win for TOP.
I mean, there was inexperience from both sides, some growing pains still for both these teams. The exciting thing, though, is that Suning, because of how stacked the Eastern Conference are, and the fact that they're competing with BLG, LGD, and Vici, we're probably still going to make it into playoffs, so there's still time for them to try to get into form and try to make a deep run. TOP on the other side, the fact that they could possibly chase for third or even second, that would automatically seed them into the quarters of the playoff gauntlet.
They're tied with Snake right now after their loss earlier today at 6-7. That's right, TOP are tied with Snake at just below a 50% win rate. Just above them is EDG at 7-6. The winningest team in the history of the LPL is a single win against the losingest team in the history of the LPL. This is the 2018 Summer LPL split. We're having a great time.
And it's the fact that Edward Gaming, I think, are on a 4-series loss streak right now, the longest that they've ever had in their history. So the Western Conference has completely cracked open, and TOP are just thriving in it. They've escaped the East, and they're running into like,
into the West,
because now we have Rogue Warriors and TOP who are just storming through the Western Conference and showcasing again that between our two conferences, they are very unequal. Yeah,
and Rogue Warriors are the only ones who are able to show that they are standing tall right now at 11-2 with all of the chaos that's going on in whatever is happening for that conference. Rogue Warriors are the only team that's still keeping their footing even while all of this landslide is going on around them. Of course, they're going to be in our match of the week happening in just a few minutes. As soon as we get the players on stage and ready, we'll be getting into that. But still, to further celebrate, just kidding, here you can see, let's hype it up some more, Frost!
It's the fight for first. We have the best team in the Eastern Conference, Invictus Gaming right now, I believe 11-1 versus the best team in the Western Conference. I believe also now auto-qualified for playoffs since they are that far ahead of everyone else in their conference because they have a 4-game lead.
13, 6 games. We're doing some quick maths. Chocho is going to take our MVP. I'll keep on working on those maths real quick while we try to make sure that that's actually locked down. He's 0-0-9. A lot of assists, not a lot of kills on stage, but like you said, zoning out in those team fights was huge.
Yeah, I would have given it to Chocho as well. I think his last team fight in particular was excellently played. He was a backbone and consistent member of the team every single time, and I fondly remember back to when he entered the LPL and he got his pentakill against Vici Gaming when he relegated them back in 2017.
Okay, so they have passed FPX and WE. If Rogue Warriors win one more, they lock themselves into playoffs.
Not
so
only
that's the decider.
Is it the fight for first.
It's the fight for the first playoff spot in the LPL. Again, currently OMG and FPX can still catch them, but if it's a one more win, neither of those teams, and not WE, can catch Rogue Warriors either.
And we've got massive win streaks coming. I don't know, what more do you want? There's a
lot.
Playoff spot, it's fight for first, it's Rogue Warriors versus Invictus Gaming.
Yeah, Jackie Love, SMLZ.
That was probably the worst matchup he could have picked there. I'm going to say Rookie and
we always talk about the bottom laners. Who's the second best AD carry? iBoy, Jackie Love, SMLZ. And
you know what my answer
oftentimes
is.
It's between Jackie Love, or sorry, iBoy and SMLZ. What's your take?
My take is
iBoy.
iBoy.
No, I know your answer.
Yeah, you know my
iBoy.
answer. For me, it's really about Rookie and Doinby. These are two of our most innovative mid laners, not just in kind of their champion pool, but their itemization as well as how they play the lanes. They have both become kind of signature play styles in the LPL, and they are vastly different from each other.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see them play those styles in that next matchup. That said, it's going to be coming at you in just a few minutes. So ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. The LPL will be right back with our match of the week.
这个夏天，IG 有太多东西需要证明，请大家拭目以待。